Hello, hello. Give me a second. I am not hearing what I need to hear out of my interface, so I will be just checking on that real quick. But welcome to the stream. I hope everybody is well and safe with everything that's been going on in our world. Let me just see what is going on here. Hey, there we go. Now I can hear stuff. Yay, that's what I'm talking about. Let's see, I see, what do I see on? Possibly Mark Morris, possibly? That I don't know when that comment came in, but it's possible that Mark is saying hi. If you're here, say hi so I know who's on. While I continue to make sure that OBS isn't OBSing me. Awesome. I think we should be okay. I think we should be okay. Yep, Mark is here. Hi, Mark. How are you doing? I hope you're well. Hey, Knockport. Good to see you on again. Long time watcher. Over on Facebook. Gonna have a couple of housekeeping announcements this evening before we get into it, and some exciting stuff for my family, which is good. Hopefully you guys can celebrate with me. Today was actually... Oh, that's good to hear, man. Kiwi, I miss New Zealand and I miss Australia very much. I hope to make it back there with my wife soon. Oh, by the way, if my mic goes all popcorny sounding or my voice breaks up, please let me know. I've been trying to figure out what is going on with that. But yeah, I spent about just under 5 years living in Australia. Did college there, did a bunch of audio work there. It was a lot of fun. Got to work at the Grove, Level 7, a couple great places. Andrew Crawford's studio, when it was open, I think they were calling it 1159. That was a lot of fun. Spent a lot of time with Crawford and the boys. I know, I would love to. Drop in and say hi, Mark says. Today was officially my last day with a company called Continuant and Ellis Pro Media, at least for this season. Good company, great people there, good friends there, long-time friends there. But moving on to other things in this post-COVID world. So we'll be moving out to Alabama, of all the crazy places from California. What a culture shock. I'll be taking a job working around the NASA folks, which will be fun. And I'm looking forward to that, and getting a house out there. So I will be, unfortunately, the sad announcement is I will have to go down for a few weeks while I will be on traveling. I'll try my best to edit some stuff and post some stuff. I just don't know how much free time I'm going to get with the move, which is sad but exciting at the same time. So this might be my last stream. I'm not sure. I'll try to push out till Wednesday. I'm pretty sure that I won't be able to stream on Friday because I think that my studio will be broken down. But we'll see how we go. What else? Yeah, I got a slightly bigger space in my new place for the studio, so that's going to be exciting. I'll be able to get more acoustic treatment up, which will be great. What else do we have going on? I don't know. I thought there was something else I wanted to... Oh, of course, the normals. If you're enjoying these videos, these streams, like them, subscribe to the YouTube, send them out to the people that you think it would help. And I'll be back on as soon as I can. sometime shortly after July 13th. I don't have a hard date for being back up and running, but shortly after then, I'll be back on and live streaming on my regular schedule. The time, actually, I shouldn't say regular schedule. The time may change because I'll be in a different time zone, but we'll see what happens there. So yeah, tonight I wanted to spend some time talking about bass. We do a lot of talking about drums, and we don't cover bass a whole lot, but it's pretty important to the rhythm section. Hey Timothy on YouTube from London, man, all the great cities today. We got our countries and cities, I guess. Yeah, London, I really want to get out there. Haven't been out there. I was just talking about how I've been, I lived in Australia and I got to go to New Zealand, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, really want to get to London. I hope you're well, Timothy, and staying safe with all the stuff that's going on outside. Like I said, tonight we're going to dive into some bass. Probably a studio before a teardown. My studio's a mess. I'll do my best. I'll see if I can't tidy it up while I'm getting ready to pack, and then I'll see what I can shoot. It'll probably be a phone tour for now. But yeah, it's a bit of a wreck right now. I'll definitely try to do a studio tour when I'm reset up, because it'll probably be more interesting. So we are about 5-6 minutes into the stream. So what I'm going to do is do our normals. I'm going to drop out of Spotify, drop into the mix rig, and we're going to get into it. Hillsong London. Yes. All the family over there. I got Hillsong family all over. Oh, I miss my Hillsong family. Yeah. How's church been going? How's church been going online for you guys? I know a lot of our family have been going through some exciting seasons. They've been enjoying that, but really itching to get back behind consoles and stuff. Really, I should say in front of a PA, because a lot of them are still in front of consoles, just a little bit different mixing. Let's see, what am I gonna need for this? Let's see. Let's do. There's a lot of plugins that do similar things. Let's hit Pi. Phase interactions. Yes, that might be helpful to us. So we'll bring that down here, and we will. Oh, that's actually not going to be good. I just noticed that the delay that introduces is quite high. So let us not do that. Let's look over here on Smart, and I will go ahead and I'm going to duplicate this track here. So this is my bass track. That's fine. Go ahead, duplicate everything. So this is what I would normally do. So normally we get like a bass DI track in. So I'll just call this one bass, and I normally call it high because it's the one I'm going to treat the way that I would normally treat a bass. And then I normally mult it to another one. Mult means to create a multiple or double patch it to a low. And then I usually have a third one here, and you can see this one's called Bass Trash already. Hey, from Lagos, Sound Boy. I hope I said that right. How you doing? I hope you're staying safe. Dominion Theater was awesome, Mark, over on yeah, I'm sure Timothy can attest to that on YouTube. Mark's on Facebook, Timothy's on YouTube. We got him talking from everywhere. And again, from Lagos, welcome, Soundboy. Anyway, like I was saying, we've got bass high, bass low, and bass trash. I am not going to be using the exact same plugins on all of these things, but we're gonna build and see where we get to. So let's go ahead and turn some of these off so we can hear where we're starting. Actually, let's go ahead. First things first. Let's hear what we've got. Just as it sits, and I am hoping that I do not blow everybody's ears out, so I'm going to do that thing where I turn it down and then I bring it back up. Cool. So the bass is pretty solid sounding just as it is. So we're just going to get a reference before we clear it out. Hopefully that mix was... Can't see my screen. Again? Oh, OBS. Oh, you pain in my butt, OBS. This happens to me all the time. Hold on, let me throw it another... Hopefully it's working now. There we go. Okay, sorry, I've got a bit of a delay on my monitor to see here. This happens every night. All right. OBS doesn't take the hotkey, and I have to hit it a few times to get it to take the hotkey. That's a thing. Let me know how loud that mix was. Hopefully that mix was good for you guys. So yeah, let's start digging into this bass. Let's hear where we at without all the plugins. Okay, that's going to be a little quiet, of course. So I'm going to go and crank it a little. So I'm hearing not an active bass. I'm hearing what sounds like it's passive. Sounds like it's going through a pedal board. It's got some of its own crunch going on. Let's see here. If you hear some noise in the background, my apologies. That's I've got my family's starting to pack in the other room, and the tape is bleeding in. But yeah, so we've got some gnarly overdrive going on and all that, and then what we can see is fairly consistent player, normal bass playing here. So when I'm working on a console, let's jump in console world first. Let's go ahead and we'll lock that down to there. We can put that to 0, and what we're gonna find real quick is that the gain got turned down quite a bit. So we're going to bring the gain or the trim up till we're around about 0. Unity. Oh, sorry. I apologize. It's not doing anything because it's bypassed. Cool. So we'll bring this trim up, which is, we're making pretend it's our gain because it's digital. There is none. So around about there. So when I'm working on a bass, so this would be typically what my go-to would be. I'll be looking for 6:1 on my ratio for the compressor. I'm going to be looking for a fairly quick attack and a relatively quick release. And I'm going to soften the knee a little bit, just a touch on this. And what I'd be looking to do is first... So EQ filter. So what we may do is, what I would do is look at my processing, right? I may want to switch up my processing so that my dynamics comes first, and then my EQ and my filters and my volume. Okay. So in this channel strip, and you could do this on a Midas. I'm pretty sure you can do this on a Digico, but I want my compressor to come first. And then I want the rest of it to happen. So normally you would have the EQ first. But for bass guitar, low energy things, I like to have it under control first. So what I'm going to do is bring the threshold down to take it under control. And what I would look for is about 6 dB on the loudest, see there? And then I'll make sure that I'm not, two things. I'm not crushing the attack and the punch of the bass guitar, and I'm not mismatching the rhythms that he's playing as best I can. So I can hear as I bring this up, this attack, I slow this down, I can hear a little bit more of that, whatever overdrive he's got going on in there, and the little bit of the clacky coming through a little too much. So that's more on the negative for me than having the punch, which I'll still get plenty of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the compressor start to pay attention faster and get rid of some of that. Smooth it out. Which is doing a pretty decent job of for me. I'm going to soften this knee just a little bit more. Maybe bring the threshold down just a little bit. Okay, so what I'm trying to achieve here is I'm trying to achieve a more consistent bass. I know I'm going to get the question now about sidechain compression. Well, we will talk about that in a second. Right now, I'm looking at the bass as a single instrument and what I would normally do to it. Okay. Now, what I'm hearing for this bass, which I will turn up because I think it's pretty quiet, I'm hearing quite a bit of tub. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and, for your sake, I will put on the... Ooh, it's not... Why is it not coming up this time? There it is. We will measure it, and I will go ahead and switch to that. I believe it's... Nope. I'll turn that guy on there. Let's see what happens when I do this. Oh, that's all fun. Oh, it's because I didn't turn it up. Hey, look at that. Sorry, I just blew out smart. There it is. Yeah, so we can see that we're pretty, let's do this. Let's go ahead and... Now we'll leave it at no banding. Okay, so we're seeing it's quite hectic in, I'm sorry, I keep hitting the Pro Tools buttons in Smart. It's pretty much all low end. And the problem with that is we're going to have tracks and we're going to have whole sorts of stuff. So what I'm hearing is it's matching with what Smart's telling me. What I need to hear is more melodic information in all that area for definition. And I'm going to hear less of that crap. Okay. So on a good bass setup, this would be accomplished with the player and the actual instrument and maybe any processing that he's doing. Keep it as high quality as possible, but sometimes with a DI or badly selected pedalboard parts, it is what it is. So I need to make a little bit of space in there. I'm going to start with 3 because I may need to put some of that back for the electric guitars. And I don't think, because there's not a lot of detail coming from the pedal board, I personally don't think that anything in the upper end is going to be usable. It's going to conflict with the details in the tracks and things like that. Cool. Now, you'll see that we've lifted. Let me turn off this... You'll see it fall back and be a lot more low, mid, heavy. I want to turn it back in. You'll see it balance out a little bit more, which is what we need to hear. And now, this mid-range is going to be giving you information, your ear. It's going to give your ear information, or the listener's ear information about the notes that he's playing. Okay. And obviously it's got some nice low energy there. So that's the first thing I would do if I'm just on a console working with it. And I may, depending on the PA, and I may, lift the low end with a shelf. Let's see here. Oopsie, that was not what I wanted to do. Just to get that low end lifted back up. But I mult it for a reason. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and pull this guy up. We're going to go stream start bypass, and I'll match that 3.3. Let's go 3.3 on that gain. And I will go, we'll put this one here. Cool. And we will turn it up, and we'll put them on pre so that they play no matter what. Okay, so now I'll go back over here to Smart, and I'll go into transfer function to show some things. Cool. So what I'm going to do, oh, sorry, Smart. What what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start focusing on the high channel to be the information that I need for the notes and what he's playing in the articulation. So not the stuff I would want in the subs or the power, like the energy, the bottom end of the mix. And in this scenario, because I'm going to be doing multiples here, I am going to flip back to, where is it? Filter, dynamics, and EQ. So I want the high pass to go first, then the dynamics, and then the EQ. And that will mean that this compressor will react a little differently. And you'll also notice that we've lost a little bit of level, which is fine. Nope, too much. There we go. Okay, so now it's pretty thin. That may actually work for you depending on how what your genre is and your tracks and all that. So let's go ahead and put that in. All right, and let's go find our tracks. So if you've got low energy in your tracks, hear all that sub. Hopefully you've got good in-ears for this. You've got like mastered low end in this track, right? Okay, so not needing all that low end energy in the bass guitar when you've got tons of low energy in the tracks is a thing, something to be thinking about. But in this particular instance, our tracks don't actually have a ton of low end in them. I'm actually boosting that quite hard to hear that. So here's how I would normally deal with that so that I could control it both ways, right? So I high pass this one to round about let's call it 115. Okay, by ear. So till I was happy with it. So now I'm going to low pass this one to about the same frequency, but we're going to look at see what happens to it over on our. Okay, so that's what we've got there. So you'll see what's happening. Let's see here. Yep, we're all good. So we have a phase rotation happening. Probably because we've got a lot of dynamic stuff going on. So let's match, for the time being, let's match the compressor. So let's do this. Let's go copy you over entirely. We'll keep that compressor. We'll take off this EQ stuff. So I'll go ahead and just zero out that, zero out that. We'll turn that guy off and we'll bring him back down to 115. Go back over here and we'll clear out that. Dealing with low energy is tricky for Smart sometimes. And it's doing a comparison of the two, so it's not loving me. Let's see what here. Let's go. Actually, let's change this up here because I think I know what's going on with Smart. Smart is looking at the two different signals, trying to figure out what's going on with. Okay, so let's do. How can I do this best? Let's do it this way. We are going to duplicate. This is just for measurement purposes, guys. Stand by. We're going to make this one our base ref. We'll put the ref channel on that one. And we will mult the low channel out there. And we are going to take the the measured channels down 6, right? Is that about right? That should be about right. And we're not going to listen to that ref channel. We're just going to use it as a reference. Okay, now I'm starting to see what I wanted to see. Except we need to bring up our measurement channels 3 dB, I think. Oops, not +3, -3, and -3. Okay, so the reason I'm doing this, guys, so you know, is I have to match the ref and the measurement as best I can to get an accurate reading. So what I'm going to do is see what happens if I go -3 here. Our reference channel is still a bit hot. Close enough. Close enough for government work. So we'll clear that out and we'll look at that. So what you can see happening here at about 115 is a 180-degree phase flip, okay? And you can see it's all messed up. The coherence down here is all messed up, okay? When you are combining a high and a low track, and for the sake of this, I'm just going to move this back here because we're not paying attention to it. So when you combine a high and a low track like this, where you are cutting out the low end on one, and you're using only the low end on the other, okay, what you have to remember is that filter, those two filters, have a phase rotation that happens right at their knee frequency. So the low end is going to be out of phase. Now we happen to be basically 180 degrees out in this scenario. So what I'm going to do is I am going to flip phase on this low channel. And what do you hear happen? All of a sudden, clarity came right back, and our low end, basically our phase, flattened right back out. Okay? So this is what happens when you're dealing with high pass and low pass, so it's just be aware of those things. Okay, so then what I'm going to do, now ignore the meter a little bit, because what I'm about to do is get a little cray on this, okay? So what I've got here on this channel is just the low end, okay? What I'm going to do is keep the knee where I'm at, but I'm going to go ahead and get a little crazy. So let's go 20 to 1. And I'm going to make this like a limiter. And I'm going to want it to be loudest around 10 to 12 dB of reduction. And what you'll see is the level should stay, it should pin, okay? Relatively to the same place. It shouldn't go anywhere. Okay, now I'm going to add them together. And what's going to happen is no matter how he plays in his dynamic, we're going to have a basically a brick wall, not entirely brick wall, but we're going to have an almost limited low end channel here that we can bring up or down depending on the song or the section of the song. And when we get to like big, giant, massive bits of our sets, you can push it up a little bit and really make the subs work a little harder just with this, okay? And what that gives us now is, now you can, if it's driving you nuts in your room, you know how we pulled out this filter here, about 157.7, about 2.8, and 3.9, we can do the same thing here. So we'll go -2.8, Okay, you can do the same thing to keep that that mid-range clear. Just depends on what you're going for and what the room's doing. Cool. So what you should get now is put all these together. And that tracks that we were talking about, because that's where we have most of our conflict. And that's usually right about where I wind. I wind up about 6 dB under for the most of the set, and then I can push that if I need to. And now we can talk about sidechaining. So a lot of people will sidechain so that they achieve one of three things really. They'll sidechain for rhythm. So let's go ahead and see. Is this the section? Yep. Okay, that's a good section to do it in. So let's say that I need a sidechain channel, so I'm going to use bus 27. I'm going to go pre-fader. I'm going to turn it all the way up. Okay, so I need a sidechain, a place to get my sidechain key from. I am going to go ahead and use, let's see here. Sorry, my dog is complaining. What have I used? You can use any compressor for this, so I'm just trying to look for this one here. Okay. I may or may not have a preset for this. Let me look. Okay, I do not think I have a preset for that, but that's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the sidechain on by making the compressor take a key from, when did I put that on, 27? From another bus, okay? And then we're going to want it to take that key. We're going to need to activate that in the detector circuit, okay? Most compressors will have a detector circuit that will allow you to use a sidechain, and they'll have a way for you to listen to that sidechain. So when I'm listening to this bass, here, okay, if I was listening to the sidechain, you can hear that it's the kick, okay, which is what we want. And we can further filter out that. Okay. So that's what it's listening to. And what we can do then is make it hit with the kick. Now, let me do a little bit of math real quick here. I'm going to get a tap tempo that I have. It's 122. And then I will bring up audio file calc. And I'm going to go on to note length. I'm going to enter 122 as my tempo. Okay, and I'm going to look at a quarter note as 491. And if I change it to an eighth note, 245 is my total milliseconds. So what I'm going to do is, and you can see by ear, I've actually come really close to that. I was going to say, you would set this so that the release is going in sync with your tempo, okay? So when you turn this off, and you want to really slam this thing more than 6 dB so you can actually hear it work. Okay, you can kind of hear that working. I hope you have good in-ears to hear this. Let's put it on, I'll put it on this, but it's not the same when you put it on the high bass channel. Okay, what you really want to do is you really want it on the low end. Okay, so without it, what you could do is run your low end on your bass up a little too far. Let me turn on all these channels. So the low end, and listen to the low end and the kick. Get used to that low end. And I'll bring the bass back. It's going to start to compete with the low end and the kick. So we'd use this. So all of a sudden the space for that low end and the kick comes back and it rides with the tempo of the song, so you almost get a bounce. So you can see this gain reduction meter, it's cumulative of everything on the channel strip, but when the bass isn't playing, you can see the kick is still triggering that compressor. Okay. This gives you a couple things, gives you that bounce, gives you a bit more. So this is the other thing, I kind of interrupted myself, but it would give you possibly a little bit more headroom in your amps and your subs so that you can get that kick to punch while still rocking the low end on the bass. And gives you just a little bit more RMS when you're thinking about mastering and not trying to kill your kick drums and things like that with the low end on your bass. So that's why you would do that. Now, I want to move on to this other channel here that I have called Bass Trash. I have it. Let's turn off this filter because I want to hear it just the way it is. It's already gained. There's nothing else going on, which is fine. Okay, so this is a channel that I recorded. So what happened was this bass guitar was sent to me via a DI from Stage. I took that DI signal, sent it out of my console through a pedal that I have and back into my console. And I also recorded that as a separate channel. So whereas on his pedal board, his overdrive is, by the sound of it's probably a Sans amp. Yeah, it sounds like a Sans amp. Sans amps they used to sound really, really good. The old Sans amp sounded really, really good, and they took some dialing anyway, but the newer ones they sound real plasticky, which is just not good. So I've got this pedal that I use and I add to this. Now the reason you would do this and distort your bass and mix it in is because what it's going to do is it's going to give you a ton of second and third order harmonics in above your low end and to complement your notes, so that when you're listening to this in a mix or you're listening on smaller speakers, you can really hear what the bass and the low end is doing. I apologize for my dog barking. So I'm going to show you what that sounds like. So you can hear the distortion on his channel. It's kind of plasticky. And then I will show you what I would prefer. Okay, I call it fur. And it's so funny when I do this in sound check, everybody goes, what the heck is that? Well, it's not actually meant to be the feature, unless there's a part where I can feature it, and I have done that before and it's a lot of fun. But what I do with it is this. Okay. So I'll bring it down in gain. Oh, actually, well, what I would do is I would gain it like I would gain anything else. Sorry. All right, because I want the level to be, good for the console. Sorry, I've moved too far away for the zoom in. Okay, so somewhere in this neighborhood, so that it's, it's at unity. And then I may just attenuate it with an attenuator to match it where I want to. And depending on the venue or whatever, if I've got too much upper harmonics going on, Okay, I'll do that. Now I'll play it in the mix again. This may be a little bit more difficult to hear, but if you're using small in-ears, this is probably going to be easy to hear. Let's see, I want this channel as well. I know I'm featuring bass, so let's do this. Let's hopefully what you're hearing is, listen to the low end. Okay, we'll do that again without the trash. Okay, hopefully what you're hearing is the low end kind of suddenly becomes more apparent from the bass. And I haven't actually added any more low end, I've just added distortion. Okay, so the same concept as something like harmonic max bass. Where are you? Gosh, I can't find my plugins. Low air. You know what? I think I know where max bass is. Max bass is for some reason. Yep, there it is. It's a harmonic generator, but it's down there. Okay, so similar concept to, so by the way, just this is a rule of thumb for me, I always put my sidechain compressor, my effect compressor last, okay? Because I don't want this to be picking up any of those alias clicks and pops and then working with those, okay? So the effect would be something similar to doing this. So if I take this off and I turn on, we just listen to this one. Okay, so what this is doing is it's generating distortion above, so we picked 115. Roughly. Okay, and then you can play with this and okay, when you listen to those lowest notes, those lowest octaves, it seems to make it more apparent. Okay, when this is in. Also check your phase rotations here. Unfortunately, max bass does not have a flip for the polarity or whatever, so by changing it to a gentler slope, you can bring that phase closer to acceptable. Sorry, I have a... Okay, it's still not perfect, but it is closer, okay? I keep doing that, I apologize, guys. Okay, so you just got to be a little bit careful. So what you could do also is replicate this over to here and put it back to maybe 12. Oh, I seem to have killed Smart again. Yeah. So we've got another rotation almost entirely here. It's a thing. Oh, sorry. I see now. Yeah, that's gonna be pretty bad. Oh, sorry. I also realized that the other thing I'm doing is a lot of crazy processing on that low end. So there should actually be a phase rotation when you put max bass on. That's a thing. But it shouldn't be so terrible. Especially when you put it on both channels, you should get the same amount of rotation for the low end that you're crossing over here. And if you're really, really worried about that, you can slide it up even higher above that crossover point. And we'll copy and move it here. And you should be a little bit happier. Especially if you sit it right on top of like 200. Which is where we want to be pulling out. So any cancellation that you do get is actually helping you pulling it out. And you can see our rotation. Yep, that's moving up there, which is perfectly fine. Cool. So then we just go ahead and listen to all of these. And now I've got it all going. Bass trash, max bass, the whole 9 yards. But normally we don't have max bass live, typically speaking. So I use this. The other really nice thing about doing it this way through a pedal is it's a completely new source, so that the all your low end conflicts aren't going to be that bad. Especially if you high pass it, but you'll notice that I on trash have not high passed it. Okay, and if I go back to the spectrum and I show you on, let's go ahead and okay, you'll see that it starts to drop off a fair bit. There's a little bit of low end in here, but extends nice and high. Cool. Cool. There we go. Okay, so something else that I wanted to talk about that's sort of in the same vein. Okay, so you can hear on the kick. Okay, we have, this is the kick in. So if it's a 901, E901 from Sennheiser, and it's a very well tuned kick drum. Okay, and then we have a Beta 52 on the out. And if you're not listening on, just got our bass today. Oh yeah, Daniel, welcome to the stream. Daniel's on YouTube. Stock Logic distortion works just as well. Yes, it does. The R bass. Here, let me show you R bass, because that's actually really interesting. Sorry, I just saw these comments and I wanted to respond to those. So harmonic. Again, I think correct. Yeah, R bass is in here under other. I don't know why. So R bass is very powerful. R bass is a sub-harmonic generator, so it will generate harmonics below the frequency that you pick, right? So this is going to be pretty interesting, right? So let's say you have a bass that sounds like that without any low cuts. Let me turn it up so we can hear a little better. Okay, what you can use R bass to do is turn it into something that sounds more like that. So without it. So if you have a really crappy cheap bass, you can get some low energy from it, and it's tunable. Okay. So what this is doing is it's saying below these frequencies, I want you generating harmonics for it. And if we go all the way to 115, which is where we were, we get everything back. Okay. So it's cool. This is a very cool, very powerful plugin. It will increase your volume, so just be very careful with it. But also very cool, very powerful plugin. But yes, thank you, Daniel, for reminding me about RBass. RBass is definitely a thing. I do use it quite a lot. Okay, so with the kick, I have this in. Okay, this would be like my kick high or my kick in, and then I have this kick low. Okay, so what I'm doing with all of my low end, right, is I'm managing the amount of space and power that is required by that low end. Okay, so when I've got a song and it's in my head, I want that low end from the bass and all the melodic instruments to be solid. I want it to move when I say move, and lift the energy or bring back the energy or whatever that I want it to do when I say. So that's why I limit the bass on a low channel and I control it on a fader. With the kick drum, I want that kick to be consistent and I want it to punch, but I don't want like, say, the subwoofer in my PA system to be moving all the time when there's rumble in the kick or any of that, costing me voltage, costing me voltage and headroom in the amplifier. I want there to be enough headroom in that amplifier that when that kick drum gets hit, it's got all the room to go and it will punch and move air pretty hard. The other thing that I want from that is I want the room, if the room has got a nice long reverb time or it's just a deep reverb time or a muddy reverb time, if I have all the energy from the kick drum or whatever constantly vibrating that subwoofer, moving air in that room, well, the room's going to continue to move that air as it bounces around, right? So I need that kick to, or that subwoofer to activate the air in the room and then stop and let the room continue to do the thing. So all of these things are going in my head. It doesn't even matter if I'm mixing studio or live. I approach them very similar. If it's studio, I want the headroom in my master. I want that kick to hammer through, and I don't want it to be rumbling around, just choking up my RMS, doing nothing, okay? When that kick is moving, I want it moving. So what I do, and I've explained this before, is I will either gate it or I'll edit it or whatever I need to do with the compressor and the gate and the editing to shorten it down. So what I'll do is I'll keep I'll have it, let's see. Okay, hopefully you can hear this. You're gonna need some in-ears or good speakers for this. Okay, so we'll take this for instance, right? So I'll give myself a pretty decent. Okay, now that furry that you're hearing on the front end, we've got two ways to deal with that. We can make the dynamics come first, or you can still hear it, which is fine. Threshold up. We can slow down the attack, which is fine because all that attack from the kick in is going to be helping us with that. Speaking of, let's talk about side chains for a second. We're using that bus 27, okay? So why, if we've got a kick inside the drum, a microphone inside the kick drum, why not use it with its close proximity to that batter head and the shielding from Michelle to help us gate this kick drum? Okay, so nope, we want a bus and we want it to be bus 27. Cool. So let's do that. Let's sidechain. Okay. We'll go the key sidechain, peak, and we'll listen to it. Okay, nice and tight. Yeah, I'm probably pushing a little too hard for the output bus, but that's okay. Okay. So now we can take our threshold on our gate. So sometimes what I will do is, let's do this. Let's go dynamics. We'll take the filter off. so we can listen to this. Instead of using that bandpass. You know, I'll high pass it up to like 200. But this one happens to have quite a lot of snare bleeding into it. It's not very typical for a kick-in, but it is. So the reason I'm using this bandpass filter is because I can quite easily hear that that's where the loudest energy is in that. So then I'll use that kick-in to be the thing that triggers the gate for the kick out. Get it as high as I can. Okay. I want it to hold. Where's my hold here? At least 50 milliseconds. No, I forgot that it doesn't take input like that. At least 0.05, 50 milliseconds. Filter it. So I'm tuning the hold, how long that gate stays open, and the release. Okay, so that I get just the thump. And then I will take this depth down. Usually if it's live, I will take the depth so that it's somewhere around 6 or 12, okay? Because I don't want to kill everything. I just want it to turn down that background noise that it's filtering out. Now, on the kick drum, on the compressor, I do something similar. So we'll do like a 4-to-1. And I think my threshold needs to move because of because I'm using a different key now. But I'll wait to get on it until after the low end is generated, so it's the full cycle, and then I'll hold on to it for a little bit, but get off of it pretty quick. And I'll of course listen to what I'm doing. Okay, so in context with the other one. Okay, so we got some nice punch happening there. And then that will control, that should control all the low end craziness from the bleed from that kick drum. Turn the bass up too much. Sweet. Guess we ran out of lyrics. I love that part of this recording. Where else do we have low end? So the other place at the bass is going to interact with everything. So electric guitars, right? Electric guitars, let's see. So that's like a lead. If we give myself a little bit of a, here we go. Cool. So this guitar has quite a bit of low energy to it, I would imagine, by itself. So let's go ahead and let's mono this out. Ew, that's fun. Nice catch. So there's quite a lot of low energy in there if you're listening on good in-ears or good monitors. So we're getting rid of a little bit of that, but this, here, let's listen to one of these for a second. This area, that's going to be where the weight is. Now, if I keep doing this with an EQ, what's going to happen is anytime he plays that's in a resonant area of that frequency, it's going to be overbearing, okay? So sometimes I will lift it just a little bit, but I will rely on, so remember that's around that 200 area, I will rely on my bass guitar to carry that for my electrics. And I don't know, for whatever reason today, the U2 thing, a little too much for me. But anyway, so with the bass in there, it's going to help carry those guitars. The other place that we need to be worried about bass interacting with is our keyboards. Okay, so this one's pads, and what you'll notice is I am taking out a lot of that low stuff, okay? So if I don't, I think this particular sound that she has, yeah, okay, so that sound isn't that bad, but some pads have just too much going on the low end. If you need to keep the low end in your pads without cutting it all out, what I would recommend is using a shelf, okay? Bring it down all relative to each other until you can fit it where you need to fit it, okay? But normally I cut it out because most of the time I've got enough going on in all the other areas. Now, if it comes to a ministry time and the pads is the only thing on stage, then I'll just go grab my high-pass filter and wind it down just gently so that I can get that full atmosphere, and then when the band comes back on stage and starts playing, I'll wind it slowly up. So that's the thing. Mixing isn't set and forget. You know, you have a knob for your high-pass filter, select your keys, roll it back, get some of that warmth in there. When the band comes on, roll it back up. That's what mixing is. Don't set and forget. Okay. Piano. Sorry. Hear that? Hear all that low end? Beautiful by itself, but we've got so many other things going on. Okay, so we're managing our low end, right? This bass is going to be playing most of the time. These tracks, I mean, listen to the low end in these tracks. Okay, another trick for you, okay? Ready for this? Hopefully you'll like this. Let's put you down here. And let's put you here. Okay, ready for this? So, Pro MB. Get yourself a multi-band of some kind, right? Okay, so this is our... This one doesn't have a sidechain low end, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go external key from that kick drum channel, and then we'll do the same thing. We'll go... Now, unfortunately, I don't think there's a way to turn this into milliseconds to see the milliseconds, but what we can do is this. We can go listen to you, and we can listen to pretty good to my ear. And I rolled it up a little bit so that I could hear more. Cool. And now we've got, you can hear that bounce. Now we've got more room for our kick drum. Cool. So again, just managing, and then of course on our vocals, depending on your genre. This might be. I guess I left everything in this one. I normally don't do this. I think I was in a rush the last time I had the session open. But I'll take out any of the extraneous low end that I don't need. Come on, man. You can see I did here. And there's still plenty there to make it sound warm. If I move this up more. On, man. Set our eyes on a savior. See the image of love. Sing his praises forever. You know, it's before I get up to like 450 before it sounds really unnatural. And that's for that particular voice. That changes per voice. Come on, man. Let's go here, this one. So again, you know, you have to forgive these guys. They've been going really, really hard for a whole conference, so. Cool. So let's go ahead and take this, can I do it that way? Oh, no, let's do it this way. We'll use sound field. We'll use insight. Ooh, there you are. Hopefully it opens for me. There we go. I just want, let's see here. So you can see our low end is sitting nice and consistent. But it pops every time we have a kick drum hit because we're making room for it. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so we've gone over quite a bit with low end. We've talked about managing the transient on our kick drum. Make sure it's nice and tight. We've talked about using a sidechain to both compress the low energy on the bass drum and the low energy on our tracks by using a multiband there. Now, hot tip, if you have a multiband available to you and you're not running 2 bass tracks, you can do the same thing. You can sidechain the low band on a multiband for your bass and get a similar effect. Now, there's nothing wrong with just multibanding your entire bass if you can't do that. But we talked about remembering that if we are going to run 2 bass channels, to check our polarity because of that phase flip or phase rotation that happens when you use I'm going to use a filter like this, all filters, even this one here. Okay, so there's one EQ notch is a filter. The low pass and the high pass are filters. That's what you refer to them as. All filters have a phase rotation. Okay, so when you're combining two of the same channel and you have a high pass and a low pass on top of each other or close to each other, or you have two low passes or two high passes or whatever it is, you need to pay attention to that phase rotation, and you need to listen for which sounds better by flipping the polarity. What else did we talk about? We talked about compressing our low end from our bass guitar, which is usually our most consistent source, and compressing it hard so that it doesn't go anywhere, and using the fader to ride for our low end. We also talked about alternatively not using much low end from our bass guitar and relying on our tracks, but this requires you to listen to your tracks and know what kind of low end energy is there. So that's about my shtick, my spiel. That's how I manage my low end for the most part. There may be other things that I need to do from time to time, like subharmonic generators for certain things or whatever. It just depends on the scenario, and I may in the future go into using a subharmonic generator for a kick drum if it's needed or things like that. But generally speaking, that's what I do. So if there are any questions, now is the time to ask, because I'm starting to wind down for the night. Again, while you're all here, I wanted to say that I have been loving these streams because I am moving to another state. I may have to cancel streaming for a couple weeks. We'll see. I may be getting on Wednesday. I may not be getting on Wednesday. If I don't get on Wednesday, I will be back after July 13th. If I get on Wednesday, it will be my last stream until after July 13th. When I get everything set up. There was a request to do a studio tour before I break down, which I can't really do in this state that it's in right now, but I will do a studio tour when I set it back up, which will be a lot of fun. Please share the channel, the YouTube channel, with anybody who you think would enjoy it. I have all the content there under the live videos. I think you can get to them from videos that should be available for everybody to watch. I will try to see about posting, editing some content that I shot and posting it while I'm on the road. But we'll see, fingers crossed. It's pretty tricky doing that all in the car. What else? I will be probably on the same schedule when I start streaming again when I move to Alabama, but we'll see. Regardless, they will go up and stay posted as VODs after the streams. But if there's not any questions, which I'm not seeing any come in right now, I'm going to wind down for the night and bid you adieu. I do hope that you are all staying healthy and safe. Again, share this, my YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch and Instagram to whoever you think needs to benefit, or pop on and join us. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube, and I look forward very much to hanging out with you guys in the near future in my new place. And until then, have a hold on, I gotta actually flip over and see what's streaming. Until then, until I see you guys again, be it Wednesday or be it after the 13th, I do very much wish you all well, and I wish you stay safe, and I will catch you soon. Okay, bye.